Did I hear you say circumcision and rabbis? No, I'm serious.
It's not for
because I
visiting
was-
speakers.
I was with rabbis many a time who did a circumcision on a newborn.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I was asked, why did I become a nurse? I didn't want to become anything like an accountant like my mother was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. One day we got a message that my dad had had an accident. And with that, he spent 3 months in the hospital because lungs and ribs and everything. I would go after school to see him, and a lot of student nurses were there, either teaching him things or talking. He loved to talk to people, and they liked to listen. So as that time went on, I decided I was going to become a nurse. So I did. I went to a local hospital for it. It was a 3-year thing, and approximately, sometimes we were sent to the college also. And I decided, yeah, I would come, and I did end up becoming an RN. After I became that way, then I decided I want to go to the Army. Is there any military people had been in?
Phil?
Yeah, so I couldn't take me right away. They had to wait till a certain time of the year. So what I did was what I did was decide to work at the nursery they asked me at my hospital. And the thing that I bring out about that, we had one lady, I think she had 2 or 3 miscarriages and lost the baby. Well, when I was in there, she came in and had another baby born, 2 pounds. That was not very big, but 2 pounds. We got him into the container that you do with the oxygen and all. And to make it shorter, at 2 pounds born, we sent him home at 5.5 pounds. We got that baby up that much, and the parents were so happy about that. So about this time, I'm ready to go to Army. I wanted to see a lot of things going on then. And I had to wait, that's why I was in the nursery until a certain time that the Army took me. Fort Sam Houston is where I went to learn everything about what you do in the military. So they sent you to an outside called, I forgot the name of it.
Camp Bullis?
Bullis thing, yeah. And that's where you went to bed on the in tents on a cot. And the one thing was with your utensils when you're eating. First you dip them in the hot water in a barrel, make sure they're clean. And then when you're done, you clean off whatever, and you put it in another barrel to get that off. We also slept in cots on some of the big tents. And it was really interesting to be out in the woods. You never know if you're going to come across the deer, which were okay, but the rattlers were the ones that were hard, that you had to really pay attention for out there. So, after all that training classes at Fort Sam, I was sent to San Francisco because I always liked to work in surgery. That was always my favorite, something to do with surgery. Sent to San Francisco, and I worked there in the surgical floor, attended the OR classes, and I also met my husband there. We were married, and then we were both transferred back to Texas. I think, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyhow. My husband did not meet my mother. She didn't know I was going to marry this man, but they got on. She called one time on the phone, and he got on the phone. And her thing was, not knowing him, she said to my husband, "Why did you marry my daughter?" Well, my husband, he loved to be funny. But his truth was what he said. It just, anyhow, he answered her, "We got married because we had to." Well, you know what went through my mom's head when she heard those words. And then I'm having a fit lid, and finally he said to her, "No, He said, is it what you think? He said, we are really in love and that's why we got married. So from then on, I hope she believed him because it really was the truth. What do I have? The Cuban crisis. Anybody remember that or hear the name or something? Cuban crisis. When I did get into the Army, then I was sent to Fort Sam. Oh, I was there already at training and all. And let's see, because the OR nurses from Florida were sent to, no, the nurses from San Antonio were sent to Florida because of the Cuban crisis. So that left only very few people there, and especially in the OR. There were not any other nurses left. So me and 2 or 3 others that had been in classes, we were sent to Fort Sam to help the work in the operating room. And to help us in the operating room, we had Mexican fellows. It just seemed when they got into their, ready to graduate from Mexico, 18 to 20 years old, the Army would take them. And they were excellent people in working and helping. And one of the things they did best is what I'm going to be getting on next, in the operating room. They knew everything what they were supposed to do in the operating room, where you put your things in to cook and whatever. Well, we got like I said, the OR nurses had to go to Florida, and I was left with the other people. We got a call from the floor in San Antonio. We had a burn unit. For some reason, helicopters would fall. People would burn and they'd send them to Texas. Their own nurses up there had to take care of them, and they did. But with everything going on, they got really busy, so they called the floor. I called us and said, will you please come and get this man? We were just given permission to help remove the bones or whatever we need to because somebody needs it. But she said, we can't go. Can you send, I always said my boys. And I said, oh yes. So they left, brought the body back, put it on the table, covered up. And meantime, I'm trying to, the table was probably this long, and they had all my stuff out, and I'm trying to put it, and they're telling me what to do with it and how to fix it. And then they said, we got to go out and check something. So they went out, this is my table here. They went out the door to do something, and I'm busy trying to get their table ready. Well, next thing you know, I heard somebody said something. Now it's me there, the man that's supposed to be dead. And I hear somebody talking. Well, I let out the biggest scream I have ever done. Funny, I didn't wake the whole hospital up. And then my boys come running. Well, they came in the door from there, which I didn't know was, because I never worked anything with the burn unit. But they came through that door and said something to me, and that's when I thought the body spoke. Oh boy. Actually, for that, when I got back to the apartment too, my husband said, you never know what happened. I said, well, you never know what happened. Well, he said he's in the was in the medical field. He called for his ambulance driver. They had a body in the back of the ambulance that same evening, going to the morgue to keep it cold before they sent it back to the States. No, we were in the States at that time. I was all over with different things. Anyhow, they heard, it started to sit up, and it was making noise too. And I said, well, you ought to hear what I did, you know. So we both had experiences that evening there. Okay, what else I have here? Cuban crisis, OR nurses.
She told me to prompt her, but Dad served in Germany, twice in Korea, Mom was in Korea, and Dad was in Vietnam. So they had service actually on 3 continents and 5 or 6 states.
Yeah, we did.
And then she got out of the Army.
Well, I got out of the Army. Well, first, you know, when I was in Korea, my husband took me, one of the teachers they knew came over and helped, and then she took me to the Korean school. you would be amazed at what English the Korean children knew about everything in English. And I didn't learn any Korean. That was a little too difficult for me. Let's see, okay, Korea. I wanted to walk in the rice paddies. They were beautiful when you look out in the yard in Korean rice paddy. And I wanted to walk in there. And one day almost, except I saw what they were bringing down the hill to put into the rice paddies. Right, I think you already have guessed what it was. What it was saved, everybody saved it all. And then brought it down and put all of that. And I said, well, I think I won't. I think I'll just forget about it. I was scared on that.
What is it?
Yeah. I was also,
Human waste.
Fertilizer. You got it?
Five minutes left.
oh, okay.
Well, the market's gone back.
I also got to see the 38th parallel in Korea. The doors, across from the water, there was no toilets in the bathroom, just a hole in the floor for that one. And then also at one time, wherever I was in Korea, I was shown a very beautiful room. And this is where the females went on their dates. I won't explain that, but you can probably think about, they did have a lot of special rooms for females in their male date.
She said these women were well taken care of. The doctors gave them shots, did their checkups. That it was all part of that. And then she got out of the army because she was pregnant.
With food.
At that time, you couldn't let someone take care of your baby. It had changed. Right before then, you could have the baby at the home, someone come to your house, you take it when you go back from work. They wouldn't let that allow anymore. Couldn't even let the grandparents have the baby if you were still in. So I left the military at that time then. But after that, I still worked as a school nurse, a Red Cross nurse.
She worked the Vietnam baby lift in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Checking the kids when they came over off the planes.
Wow.
Went to work at the VA.
Yeah, after that, we both went to work at the VA and truly enjoyed it. I worked in the dialysis unit most of the time until they decided it was too much money for Atlanta to buy it, and they said we had to, and they decided to send the men off to a private place. So I retired there too, but I had a really good time. I always loved the medical, and I was glad I had a good husband too that did and was very involved in his medical things. So yeah, that was a time ago. So
How long in total were you a nurse, an active practicing nurse?
and act all the, oh my, I don't remember. It was a long time. Yeah.
When were you in Korea? Do you remember?
I don't know
In the
dates.
50s, 60s,
70s.
70s?
70s,
70s.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was nice. That's where I learned kimchi. Where I learned to eat kimchi. Oh, it's so good if it's made properly. So that was it.
What is your favorite memory when you look back at your career
What
as
it
it
was.
spans? What's your favorite thing that you made an impact where you were able to help?
I think it might have been in Fort Sam, working in the OR, and the things that you helped with all kind of things from there. Most of them were babies. For some reason, ladies had their babies in the evening and during the night. And that was nice to see, to help deliver the C-sections is what we had to do. But I don't know, I enjoyed a lot of it. Fort Sam, and San Antonio, well, that's Fort Sam. Down in the West Coast, they got rid of the hospital after a while. But that was good over there too. And I enjoyed going overseas, Korea, was one. Germany, we spent some time in Germany. It was all good. I liked it all like that.
Tell us your motorcycle story.
Yeah.
My husband was one that had a motorcycle for, I don't know, since he was 12 or something. He was a youngster, went after motorcycles, and he constantly had a motorcycle, and he said, I have to learn. So I thought, well, okay. So eventually I did learn, and then went to the shop, and we bought 2 new motorcycles. His was a little stronger than mine though, and his was a little bigger than mine too. But I loved to ride that motorcycle. It was just something. I had it one night and I took it to work at the VA. Coming back at night, I wasn't paying attention. It was like midnight, going down the road, and all of a sudden somebody's following me, scared me to death. It was the street light that was coming down, and I was going, oh boy, was I glad. Oh, that was so scary, but I was about to step on the gas, and boy, I hit the hill going home. Found out it wasn't anybody. But we took them a lot of times, both of us. Just went out riding. I took the kids for a ride sometimes too. Did I ever take you? No? No, okay.
Deb would have remembered that.
But I was much smaller then.
What was the prettiest place? What place did you love visiting the most? Like, was the prettiest, friendliest people? Which did you enjoy most?
Even though I had my ear things in, I still didn't understand.
What is your prettiest place?
What, in your travels, which place did you like the most?
The most.
Yeah?
I didn't really have one. No, San Francisco was good.
I know she always talks about San Francisco, she talks about Honolulu, Hawaii, she talks about being in the Alps, Switzerland.
I had a
Yeah, we
friend
got
who
to
said
go to Hawaii
Germany
when we
was
were
just
Germany.
the kindest people.
Yeah.
Clean. Confidence.
I just liked every place to go. Nice to travel. Yeah. And I'm still here.
And we're glad. Who else has questions? Anybody else got any questions?
See, you got through it.
Thank you.
There you go.